Guys, welcome to Annie's Math and Science. In this video, we are going to learn about scientific measurements. Okay, under this topic, we are going to cover measurements and their uncertainty, significant figures, the international system of units, conversion problems, and density. Okay, I hope this video will be very much useful to understand very well about scientific measurements, and also if you are writing lab reports, extended essays and individual investigations, you are actually writing the report for IB extended essays or individual investigations. This will be very much helpful for you, okay, because you must know the difference between precision and accuracy and international system of units, which is like significant figures, and also uncertainty, which is very important for lab report. Okay, so this video will be helpful for you. First, we can talk about measurements and their uncertainty. What is measurement? Measurement is a quantity that has both a number and a unit. Okay, so you have to write the magnitude and also the unit of certain measurements. For example, length you can write it as kilometer, and time second, temperature Kelvin, like that. So it must have a number and also a unit. Okay, so measurements are fundamental to the experiment sciences. So when you are doing an experiment, you will collect the data and it will be a measurement. So maybe you can say something in meters, or temperature in Kelvin or degree Celsius, something like that. Yeah, or otherwise you will be like collecting the data for time, how long it took for you to finish that trial, like that. Okay, so all these things are actually experimental sciences only. So measurement is very important for experiment sciences. For that reason, it is important to be able to make measurements and to decide whether a measurement is correct or not. So you have a hypothesis, you will frame a hypothesis. When you do an experiment, you will prove that your hypothesis is correct or not. Okay, so for that, measurements are very important. The units used in the sciences are international system of measurements, which means the same unit is being used all over the world, so the scientists can understand what is that. So Kelvin means what? It is a unit for temperature, like that. So the scientists all over the world, whatever language, they will understand that Kelvin is for temperature. Okay, so the units used in here are international system of measurements. Here we are going to see about scientific notation and the standard notation. What is scientific notation? Scientific notation means if a number is written as a product of two numbers, a coefficient and 10 raised to a power, then we can say that number is in scientific notation. So there is an example given in here. A number 602 million can be written as 6.02. So always you have to, when you are writing it in a scientific notation, the decimal point must be next to the first non-zero number. So here in this number, 6 is the first non-zero number. So you have to move the decimal point. For a whole number, the decimal point is at the end, right end. Okay, so you have to move the decimal point to how many digits you have to move in here? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 digits. You have to move 8 digits back to move it next to 6. Okay, after 6. So 6.02 is the coefficient, and then 10 to the power, how many units you have moved? It's 8 digits. Yeah, so 10 to the power 8. The coefficient of this number is actually 6.02. So that part is actually coefficient, and then 10 to the power 8. How many digits you are moving back or forward? That must be the power. Okay, and this is actually whole number. There is no decimal point. You are actually moving the decimal point to the back. Next, we can see another number 0.00235. This can be written in scientific notation as 2.35 because the first non-zero number is 2. So you have to move 3 digits to the right. So you are moving 3 digits to the right so that the decimal point will be in between 2 and 3. So 2.35 will be the coefficient, and the power will be 10 to the power minus 3 because you are moving 3 digits to the right. So you have to write this number in scientific notation as 2.35 times 10 to the power minus 3. Always to write a number in scientific notation, we must move the decimal point next to the first non-zero digit in either direction, which means sometimes you have to move backward, sometimes you have to move forward. It depends on the number. Okay, so if you are moving in the backward direction, the power will be positive, and if you are moving the decimal in the forward direction, the power will be negative. Okay, so in this case, like see, if you have to move the decimal point to the left, then you have to, your power must be positive. If you have to move the decimal point to the right, then the power will be negative. Okay, in the same way, so now we have learned like how can we write a number in scientific notation. Now we can see like in the same way, if you are writing a number in scientific notation to standard form, so if a number is given in scientific notation and you have to write it into standard form, then we have to move the decimal point leftward or rightward according to the power. Okay, see in this case 2.63 times 10 to the power 4. So 10 to the power 4 means when like for converting standard form to scientific notation, you are moving backward, right? So in this case, like you have to move forward. So 10 to the power 4 means you have to move forward to make it into standard form. So for example, 2.63 times 10 to the power 4 means the standard form will be 300. Okay, so 26,300. Okay, so the next one is actually 3.02 times 10 to the power minus 3. The standard form is 0.00302, because to write this in negative power means what? You are moving the decimal point to the right. Okay, so again, like when you are writing this in the standard form, you have to move the decimal point to the left. Okay, so 3.02 times 10 to the power minus 3 will be the standard form. The standard form will be 0.00302. Next, we are going to see about accuracy, precision, and error. Okay, so you must know the difference between accuracy and precision. Accuracy means what? It's a measure of how close a measurement comes to the actual or true value or whatever is measured. Okay, so accuracy means how close the value you have achieved, you have found is close to the true value. True value means actual value. Okay, so that is accuracy. Precision means is a measure of how close a series of measurements are to one another. So precision means if you are actually doing three trials, like three trials for an experiment, okay, all three values are actually close to each other. It doesn't matter whether it is close to actual value or not. But if these three values in from the three trials are close to each other, then you can say it as high precision. Okay, that's the difference between accuracy and precision. Accuracy means how close the measurement is to the true value or actual value. Precision means how close the measurements you found, like whatever measurements you have are. Okay, so that is precision. So then to evaluate the accuracy of a measurement, the measured value must be compared to the correct value. To evaluate the precision of the measurement, we must compare the values of two or more repeated measurements. So you have to see whether the repeated measurements are close to each other or not. Okay, there is an example given in the picture given in the left hand side. Dots, like dot boards are given, right? So the first one is actually having high accuracy and high precision, because high accuracy means what? It is actually next to the bullseye. Okay, so bullseye of the dot board, so that is actually high accuracy. High precision is there because all the measurements are close to each other. Okay, so that is having, first one is high accuracy and high precision. The next one is having high precision but low accuracy, because it is not close to the actual center value. Okay, it's not close to the center value, but the measurements are close to each other, so it is having high precision but low accuracy. The next one, third one, is actually having high accuracy, because it's actually close to the center value, but there is very low precision because the measurements are far away from each other. Okay, they are not close to one another. The next one, last one, is having low accuracy and low precision, because none of them are close to the center value, and also all the values are far away from each other. So which means low accuracy and low precision. So dots on a dartboard illustrate accuracy and precision in measurement. Let's take the bull's eye of the dartboard represent the correct value. The closeness of a dot to the bull's eye corresponds to the degree of accuracy. The closer together the dots are, the greater the precision and reproducibility. Okay. So this is how we can find whether a measurement is actually accurate or precise. Now we can see how can you find out whether there is an error in your experiment or not. Okay. So first of all, you can see what is error mean. Error is the difference between the experimental value and the accepted value. Experimental value is the value measured in the lab during experiment. So when you are doing an experiment, whatever you are getting as an answer, that is the experimental value. Accepted value means the correct value based on reliable references or theoretical value. Okay. So for example, if you are doing a physics experiment and you are having the original actual value you supposed to get is 2 amperes, and in your experiment you are getting 1.8 ampere. 1.8 ampere will be the experimental value and accepted value will be 2 amperes. Okay, so the amount of error can be calculated by using this formula. Error is equal to experimental value minus accepted value. Okay, so the error must be 1.8 amperes minus 2 amperes, which is equal to negative 0.2 amperes. Okay, so the error could be positive or negative, and it depends on whether the experimental value is greater than or smaller than the accepted value. Okay, so now you can see like the magnitude of the error. Magnitude of the error means like how much error you have done in your experiment. Okay, so what is the amount of error? The magnitude of the error shows the amount by which the experimental value differs from the accepted value. The percentage error is the absolute. So finally, you are finding the magnitude of the error means how much the amount of error is being calculated. But now you have to see like what percentage of error you have done. Okay, so the percentage of error is the absolute value of the error divided by the accepted value multiplied by 100%. So in the previous example, like the example I have told you, the experimental value is actually 1.8 amperes and accepted value is 2 amperes. So the error is equal to negative 0.2, right? So percentage error is equal to absolute value of error divided by accepted value times 100%. So absolute value of error is absolute value of negative 0.2, which is equal to 0.2. Okay. So 0.2 divided by 2 times 100% will give you the percentage error. Now we can see like how can we find the uncertainty of an instrument. Okay, so like in the case of graduated cylinders or electronic balances, you will have an idea like what is the answer, or it is displayed, or you can measure it in the graduated cylinder, right? But you cannot write only that number as answer, but you have to add or subtract uncertainty answer also, uncertainty number also. How can you find the uncertainty? As a good rule of thumb, the uncertainty of a measuring device is 50% of the least count. The least count is the smallest subdivision given on the measuring device. For example, in this case, like there is a graduated cylinder given in here, and the mark, you have to see the lower meniscus of the like liquid, right? So lower meniscus is actually around 1.15, okay, because it's in between 0.1 and 0.2. Okay, so you can make it as 1.15. But what is the uncertainty? So like in between 1 and 2 you have 10 0.1 divisions, like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, like that, until 0.10 will be what? The next division, which is 2. Okay, so there will be 10 subdivisions in there. So in this case, like you have to say like 0.1 divided by 10. Okay, so 0.1 is a subdivision. 0.1, and how many subdivisions are there? 10 subdivisions are in between. So 0.1 divided by 10, which is equal to 0.01. So you have to write the number actual value 1.15, and then you have to add plus or minus 0.01. I hope you understand how you got 0.01, because there are 10 divisions in between 1 and 2, right? So each divisions are 0.1, 0.1, like that, yeah, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, like that. So if when you are dividing 0.1 divided by 10, because 10 divisions are there, so 0.1 divided by 10, which is equal to 0.01, that will be the uncertainty answer. Okay, uncertainty number. So you have to write the actual answer plus or minus the uncertainty, which is 0.01. In the case of balances, it's already given. If the balance is having 0.01, then you can write it as plus or minus 0.01. And if it is 0.001, you can write it as plus or minus 0.001. Okay, so this is how you can write the uncertainty. So the least count is the smallest subdivision given on the measuring device. The uncertainty of the measurement should be given with the actual measurement. For example, you have to write the actual measurement, which is 41.64, plus or minus 0.05 will be the uncertainty answer. Okay, uncertainty measurement. For experimental answers, significant figures is very important. Okay, so significant figures in a measurement include all the digits that are known plus a last digit that is estimated. Okay, so measurements must always be reported to the correct number of significant figures, because calculated answers often depend on the number of significant figures in the values used in the calculation. So significant figures are very important when you are doing the experiments. There are some rules for determining whether a digit in a measured value is significant or not. Okay, so the first rule is actually every non-zero digits in a reported measurement is assumed to be significant. So for example, 1.43. So it's having three significant digits. 265. This is also having three significant digits. 0.123, so you don't have to count 0, you have to count only 1, 2, 3, which is also having three significant digits. So all non-zero digits are significant. The second rule is zeros appearing between non-zero digits are significant. So for example, you have 2803. So 0 is actually between 8 and 3. So you have to consider that 0 also as significant number, which is like this one is having four significant figures. 2803 is actually four significant digits. 40.23 is also, because 0 is in between 4 and 2. So this is also a significant digit. 1.409, so 0 is in between 4 and 9, so this is also considered as significant. So these three numbers are having four significant figures. The next rule is leftmost zeros appearing in front of non-zero digits are not significant. So whatever zeros in the front, okay, leftmost zeros are not significant. So you don't have to count that. They act as placeholders only. Okay. So for example, 0.0082, 0.0000033, 2.2 times 10 to the power minus 3. All three of them are having two significant digits only. Even though the number looks longer, it is having only two significant digits, because the zeros in the leftmost positions are not considered as significant. They are just placeholders, so you don't have to count them. Okay. The next rule is zeros at the end of a number and to the right of a decimal point are always significant. So if you are having 2.150 and 25.00, so these two zeros, like 25.00 means these two zeros are considered as significant. If you're having 2.150, the last zero at the end is actually considered as significant. If you're having 5.000, whatever number of zeros you have in the have to the right of decimal point, then they are considered as significant. So all these three numbers are having four significant numbers or digits. Okay. The next rule is zeros at the rightmost end of a measurement that lie to the left of an understood decimal point are not significant if they serve as placeholders to show the magnitude of a number. See, for example, 300. 300 has two zeros at the right end, yeah, so but they are not significant. Only one digit in here is actually significant. 70,000 is the next number. In here also only 7 is considered as significant. The numbers, the zeros in the rightmost end of a measurement is not considered as significant. The next number is 27,210. So in this case also the 0 is not considered as significant. So it has 4 significant digits. Okay. If a number is counting, the next rule is if a number is counting or defined quantities, then the significant figures is unlimited. So just like so far we were seeing like which numbers are significant, which numbers, which zeros are actually not significant. But now you are seeing what is unlimited, or like when a significant figure is unlimited. If you say like count the number of chairs in a classroom, or a number of students in a classroom, which is 25 people or 25 people, then you can say it is unlimited. The significant figures are unlimited. And if you say like 60 minutes in 1 hour, then you can say like it is unlimited. So when you are counting or some defined quantities are there, so 1 hour is having 60 minutes only, you cannot add 1 minute to 1 hour, right? So that is defined. Okay, so for defined quantities or counting like the whole numbers, then you can say the significant figures is unlimited. Okay, so I hope you understand the rules for determining whether a digit in a measured value is significant or not. So we can see some examples in the next slide. Here are the examples. How many significant figures are in each measurement? So the first question is 146 meter, right? So all three of them are non-zero digits. So you can say it has 3 significant digits. The next question is 40,607 millimeter. Okay, so 40,607 means there are 2 zeros, but they are in between non-zero. So you have to take it as like 5 significant digits. So you have 5 significant digits in this question. The next one is 9.8 times 10 to the power 4. So according to the fourth rule, like the zeros after the decimal points are actually considered as significant. So you have to count all of them. So you have 5 significant digits in this question. 55 meter sticks. Meter sticks is actually counting, right? So you are having 55 meter sticks in your classroom means, so it's actually counting. So you have to write it as unlimited. Okay. The next one is 0.08020 meter. And here you cannot consider the leftmost zeros as significant, but you can consider the zeros in between 8020. The last 0 is after the decimal point, so you are considering it, and the like third 0 is in between 8 and 2, so you have to consider it as significant. So it is having 4 significant digits. Okay, and the next one is 76,000, and always you cannot consider the rightmost zeros. In this case the decimal point is in the rightmost end, yeah, so these zeros are actually left to the decimal point, so you cannot take these 3 zeros as significant. So it is having only 2 significant figures. Now we can see how can you find the significant figures in calculations. Okay, so there is an example given in here. When you are multiplying two numbers in a calculator, 7.7 and 5.5, the calculator shows 41.58. Okay, so 7.7 is having 2 significant digits. 5.5 is also having 2 significant digits, right? But the answer is having 41.58 has 4 significant digits. So you cannot write the answer as 4 significant digits, because like the questions are having only 2 significant digits. If the question is having 2 significant digits, then the answer must also have 2 significant digits. So the answer 41.58 can be rounded to 42. So 42 is actually having 2 significant digits only. So when you are doing some calculations, if in a question the numbers are having 2 significant digits, the answer must also have 2 significant digits. So that's why we generally say a calculated answer cannot be more precise than the least precise measurement from which it was calculated, because you are actually rounding the final answer to a particular number of significant figures, so it is least precise than the actual calculated answer. Now we can see how can we round measurements. Okay, so for the first question, 314.721 meters, you have to round it into 4 significant figures. Okay, 4 significant figures means you have to stop by 7. So 314.7 you have to stop by, and after 7 you are having 2, right? So 2 is actually lesser than 5, so you can write it as 314.7. If it is greater than 5, then you have to add one number to 7, which will become 314.8. So in this case, after 7 you are having 2, which is lesser than 5. So you can write until 7 as it is 314.7 meter. The next question is 0.001775 meter. So you have to round it to 2 significant digits. So in this case, the zeros in the leftmost positions are not significant. So the significant digits means you have to stop by the second number, which is 17, right? But after 7 you are having 7 which is greater than 5, so you have to round it into 0.0018. Okay, so this is actually having 2 significant digits. The next one is 8792 meters. You have to round it into 2 significant digits. So you have to round it into 2 significant digits means then you have to consider the first 2 numbers and the last 2 digits must be 0. Okay, but the second digit is actually 7. After 7 you are having 9 which is greater than 5, so you have to add 1 to 7 which will become 8. So 8800 must be the answer. In this case 88, like 2 significant digits are there and the last 2 zeros in the rightmost end are not significant, so it is having 2 significant digits only. Now we are going to do some addition and subtraction. In this case, like we have done addition problem. Calculate the sum and then analyze each measurement to determine the number of decimal places required in the answer. So the first number is 12.52 meters and the second one is 349.0 meters and the third one is 8.24 meters. So you are adding 3 numbers to get the answer and you have to determine the number of decimal places required in the answer. Okay. So in among these 3 numbers, only 349.0 is having 1 digit to after the decimal point. Okay. So that's the least number of digits to the right of the decimal point. So you have to write the answer for this question also with 1 decimal point, one digit after the decimal point. Okay, so the actual answer is 369.76 and then you have to round it into 1 decimal place, which is 369.8, because after 7 you have 6 which is greater than 5, so you have to add 1 with 7 which will become 8. So the answer for this question is 369.8. Some more examples are given here. So when you are multiplying 7.55 by 0.34, 7.55 is actually having 3 significant digits, 0.34 is having 2 significant digits. So you have to write the answer in 2 significant digits only. So the actual answer is equal to 2.567. So you have to round it into 2 significant digits, which is equal to 2.6. Because after 5 you have 6 which is greater than 5, so you have to round it to you have to add 1 to 5 which is actually equal to 2.6. Okay, the second question is 2.10 times 0.70. So the first one is having 3 significant digits, the second one is having 2 significant digits, so the answer must also be in 2 significant digits, so which is equal to, the actual answer is 1.47 and it can be rounded into 1.5. The third question is 2.4526 meter divided by 8.4. So the first one is having 5 significant digits, the second one is having 2. So since like the second one is having 2, so you have to take the least number of significant digits and your answer must also contain the least number of significant digits. Okay, so the actual answer is 0.291976 and so you have to round it into 0.29. Now we can see about the international system of units. The 5 SI based units commonly used by chemists are the meter, the kilogram, the Kelvin, the second and the mole. SI unit of some measurements are given below. Length you always measure in meters, mass is kilogram, temperature is Kelvin, time is second, amount of substance is mole, luminous intensity is candela, electric current is ampere. So these are the common measurements, common SI units you use for measurements. Here we can see some commonly used metric prefixes. So mega is 10 to the power 6, which means megameter. Like megameter is 5 megameter, means when you are converting megameter to meter, then you can write 5 times 10 to the power 6 meter. Okay, so mega is actually 10 to the power 6. Kilo means 10 to the power 3. Deci is 10 to the power minus 1. Centi is 10 to the power minus 2. Milli is actually 10 to the power minus 3. Micro is 10 to the power minus 6. Nano is 10 to the power minus 9. And pico is 10 to the power minus 12. So when you are converting pico to meter, picometer to meter, then you have to use, like, the power 10 to the power minus 12. So this is how we can use these numbers for conversion or conversions from one unit to another one. In here we are going to see how to convert Kelvin to degree Celsius and degree Celsius to Kelvin. So the common formula is K is equal to degree Celsius plus 273. The first question is 77.2 Kelvin. So you have to convert this Kelvin into degree Celsius. So in the formula, in the place of Kelvin, you have to write 77.2. That must be equal to degree Celsius plus 273. So to find the value of degree Celsius, you have to subtract 77.2 minus 273, which is equal to negative 195.8 degrees Celsius. Okay, that is conversion from Kelvin to degree Celsius. Now we are going to see about conversion from degree Celsius to Kelvin. So the question is 2212 degrees Celsius. So you have to convert 2212 degrees Celsius to Kelvin. So Kelvin is equal to degree Celsius plus 273. In the place of degree Celsius, you have to substitute 2212. So K is equal to 2212 plus 273, which is equal to 2485 Kelvin. You are going to see here about the conversion factors. For conversion factors, there are some things you have to memorize. So if it is difficult for you to memorize, then you can use the statement like King Henry don't usually drink chocolate milk, which is much easier than memorizing kilo, hectare, deca, unit, deci, centi, milli. So most of you cannot memorize this, so it's better to memorize King Henry don't usually drink chocolate milk. Okay, King is for kilo, Henry is for hectare, don't is for deca, and usually is for unit, which means meter, gram, liter, like that. Drink is for deci, chocolate is for centi, milk is for milli. If you are converting the measurements from one unit to another, we need to use the above conversion factor. The difference between each unit is 10. Okay, and also you have to use this conversion factor, or otherwise you can use the staircase in the left hand side. So in this case, like kilo, hectare, deca, base unit, which is next one is deci, centi, milli. Yeah, here in this case, kilo is considered as the largest unit, and milli is the smallest unit. So if you are converting from kilo to milli, then you have to multiply the number which you are going to convert by 10 to the power 6. Okay, and if you are converting from milli to kilo, then you have to divide the number which you are going to convert by 10 to the power 6, like that. Okay, so the each and every unit is actually 10. The difference between each and every unit is 10. If you are converting from kilo to deca, then you have to multiply the number by 100. If you are converting from milli to deci, then you have to divide by 100. So when you are converting from the bigger unit to smaller unit, then you have to multiply. If you are converting from the smaller unit to the bigger unit, then you have to divide. When you move backward from milli to kilo, we have to divide 10 for each unit. When we move forward from kilo to milli, we have to multiply 10 for each unit in between. Some more examples for conversions are given in here. So before converting the questions, I want to add one more thing in here. So kilo, hectare, deca, base unit, deci, centi and milli is given in the staircase. And after milli, after 3 units, you have micro. And again after 3 units, you have nano. And again after 3 units, you have pico. So micro is actually used in here. So that's why I'm adding this information in here. Okay. So first question is 14.8 gram. You have to convert it into milligram. So gram is actually a bigger unit, and you are going to convert it into milligram, which is a smaller unit. So how many units are in between? 3, right? So you have to move through 3 units to the right, because when you are multiplying by 1000 means you have to move the decimal points 3 after 3 units. Yeah. So 14.8 means when you are moving the decimal point after 3 digits, then you will have 14,800 milligram. The next one is 3.9 times 10 to the power 5 milligram, and you have to convert it into decigram. So decigram is actually bigger unit than bigger than milligram, right? So you have to go back 2 units, which is 10 to the power minus 2. Okay, so 3.9 times 10 to the power 5 times 10 to the power minus 2 means 5 minus 2 will be 3. Okay, so you just have to write the number as it is, and you have to show the difference in the power, because here it is written in scientific notation, so you can show the difference in the power only. So 10 to the power 5 times 10 to the power minus 3 minus 2 will be 10 to the power 3. So the answer will be 3.9 times 10 to the power 3. The next one is conversion from deciliter to microliters. Okay. So from deciliters to microliters, you have 5 units. Okay. So deci to milli 2 units, and from milli to micro you have 3 units. So which means totally 5 units. So 10 to the power 5 you have to add. 10 to the power 5 you have to add with the question. So 2.21 times 10 to the power minus 4 times 10 to the power 5 is actually 2.21 times 10 to the power 1. So you can write that as 2.21 times 10 to the power 1 as 22.1 microliters, or otherwise you can write it as 2.21 times 10 to the power 1 microliters. Okay. The next one is converting from decimeter to nanometer. Okay. So from here, so decimeter to nanometer means how many units are there? Deci to milli you have 2, milli to micro you have 3, and from micro to nano you have 3. So 8 units are there, right? So you have to multiply 8 units in here. So multiply 8 units in here means 5.6 times 10 to the power 6 decimeter is equal to 5.6 times 10 to the power 6 plus 8 will be 14. 5.6 times 10 to the power 14 nanometers. Now we can see dimensional analysis in here. So which means sometimes the units will be written as kilometer per hour, but the answer is asked for meter per second. How can you convert this? Okay. So now you are going to, what is dimensional analysis? It is a way to analyze and solve problems using the units or dimensions of the measurement. So this is what dimensional analysis means. So to convert 55 kilometer per hour to meter per second, first of all you have to write 55 kilometer per hour. Okay, and then you have to times by in 1 hour how many seconds are there, because you have to convert the hour to second, right? So in 1 hour how many seconds are there? 3600 seconds are there. Then you have to times again by in 1 kilometer how many meters are there? 1000 meters. So you have to write meter up and kilometer down, so that you can cancel out kilometer and kilometer, hour and hour, and so the answer will be 55 times 1000 divided by 3600, which is equal to 15.3 meter per second. Okay, so to convert 55 kilometer per hour to meter per second, you have to write 55 kilometer over 1 hour, and then you have to times it by, for you have to get rid of 1 hour, so you have to write 1 hour up and below you have to write 3600 seconds, because in 1 hour you have 3600 seconds, and then again you have to multiply 1000 meter divided by 1 kilometer, because kilometer is up there, so you have to cancel it. So you have to write kilometer down and 1000 meter up. So when you cancel everything, kilometer and kilometer, hour and hour, you will have meter and second left. So 55 times 1000 divided by 3600, which is equal to 15.3 meter per second. Okay. The next question is to convert gram per centimeter cube to kilogram per meter cube. So the question is 7.21 gram per centimeter cube. So you have to write as it is, 7.21 gram over 1 centimeter cube, times you have to get rid of gram, right? So 1000 gram is 1 kilogram. So you can write it as 10 to the power 3 gram. 1000 gram you can write it as 10 to the power 3, right? So 10 to the power 3 gram like down, and you have to write 1 kilogram up, because you have to convert it into kilogram and meter cube. So kilogram must go up, and this times 10 to the power 6 centimeter cube over 1 meter cube. So 1 meter cube, 1 meter, there is 100 centimeter, which is 10 to the power 2, right? And so for 1 meter cube means, then you have to times, like 10 to the 10 to the power 2 times 10 to the power 2 times 10 to the power 2, which is 10 to the power 6. Okay, 10 to the power 6 centimeter cube over 1 meter cube, so that you can cancel out gram and gram, centimeter cube and centimeter cube, and now you have 7.21 times 10 to the power 6 over 10 to the power 3 meter cube, which is equal to 7.21 times 10 to the power 3 kilogram per meter cube. Now we can see what is density mean. Okay, density is actually the thickness of an object. So the definition of density is the ratio of the mass of an object to its volume, which means mass per volume. Mass over volume is density. Okay. So this is actually an intensive property, because it depends on the composition of the substance by which it is made up of, by which an object is made up of. It's not depend on the size of the sample. Okay. So it is an intensive property, or otherwise we can say how much thicker an object is. So how much thicker the composition of a substance is, like that. That is actually density. Density for each and every substance is actually different, and density of water is actually 1 gram per centimeter cube. The density of the substance generally decreases as its temperature increases. When you increase the temperature of the substance, the particles will move apart, and there will be more spaces in between, right? So the thickness will decrease. So that means the density of the substance will decrease when you increase the temperature. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel. If you like it, please subscribe and share it. Thanks.